Hi my lovely kids, and welcome back to another week of Kids Church at Home, where we're going to learn more together about our great God. Mums, dads and children, how has your week been? It's been a strange week, this one. Do you remember last term we had our pictures of feelings, different feelings on different faces. And you know what? I'm thinking that over this week I've probably felt a little bit of each of these. How about you as well? We've got our feelings here. We've got scared face. Oh dear. Sometimes have you felt a bit scared over this week? Or a sad face. Sometimes we feel sad. You might have a cry, or you just feel sad inside. Oh, I know this face. Oh, tired. Oh, have you felt ever tired and sleepy this week? I know on these cold and frosty mornings, I feel very tired and I don't want to get out of bed. Here's a face. It's a surprise face. Do you ever get a bit surprised? So I might say boo or jump out and surprise you. A surprise face. Oh, this is a nice face. A happy face. Have you felt happy this week? I hope you've had at least a few times where you've had a big, hippity-hop, happy smile on your face. And then there's this face here. What kind of face is this one? I'll pop these down here for a sec. This face, it's an angry face. Can you do an angry face? With a bit of an angry sound. Do you know what? Today in our story, there is somebody who is angry. Somebody who is feeling very angry. I wonder who in our story today is feeling angry, and I wonder why they feel angry. We'll hear from our story soon. But do you know what? Something has made me happy over the last few weeks, and that something that has made me very happy has been your mums and dads have sent some pictures to me. Pictures of your crafts. Pictures of some of your morning teas and pictures of some of my precious Kids Church kids watching this lesson. And that is really special for me, and that makes me really happy. And so I thought I might share some of those pictures with you this morning. And that way we can feel like we're all together here in our Kids Church class. So here are some of our pictures. You might recognise them because they might be a picture of you. Now, I don't put faces on my lessons, and it's important when we do put pictures up that we don't put our kids' faces on because we need to protect their privacy, especially because it's going out on YouTube. But I'll say who they are and what their picture is of. So here's our first picture. This is a picture of a crown that Vera made. This is Vera wearing her crown that she made, and she's put lovely jewels on it. Hi Vera, thanks for sending that picture in, and you've done some beautiful craft there. And this is a picture of Levan's craft. Levan's craft of his sheep and his donkey. Levan, you've done some beautiful craft there, and it's lovely to see that. Hi Levan, and thank you for sharing this picture with us today. Oops, what else have we got here? Oh, turn it this way. Oh, this is a really sweet picture sent to me. This is Ezekiel, little baby Ezekiel. And he watches the lesson every week with his mum and dad. How sweet is that? Hi Ezekiel, and welcome to Kids Church. Who else have we got here? Oops, they're sticking together just a little bit. I know this next one. Oh, it's a morning tea picture. Here, Benji and Emma have made morning tea. They've made a morning tea with cheese and cucumber and tomatoes. And then they made a second morning tea with their daddy when they were doing the lesson. And they did one with pancakes and jam for crowns and figs for their ears and their smile and some grape eyes. That was a great morning tea, Benji and Emma, and hi to you. And thank you for sending that picture in. And here's a picture of Joey with his crown that he did, his crown craft. And he's added some lovely jewels as well to his crown and coloured it in so beautifully. Thank you for sending that in, Joey, and hi to my Joey. And here's Ezra. Ezra's doing his craft at home. And then he's sticking it in his scrapbook. So I hope you're all keeping your scrapbooks all lovely and well done, just like Ezra is here. He's doing his craft, he's got his story and popping it in his scrapbook. Hi to you, Ezra, and it's lovely having you join our kids' church class this term as well. And here's Olive. Olive watching the lesson here, eating her morning tea. Morning tea just like Bron likes having. Olive watching Bron having morning tea. How special are all of those pictures? Thank you, mums and dads, for sending them in. And I'm hoping that over this term, you might send more pictures in. Pictures of your craft, pictures of your morning tea, or pictures of anything that you've made. Things that you'd like to share with your friends at Kids Church. And while we can't be all together in this room, by doing that, I feel like it helps us keep us all connected together as a group. So I'll pop that down here. Now, children, something else that has been happy is that it's Katie's birthday this weekend. Our Katie, who helps in our kids' church class, it's her birthday this weekend. And so I thought maybe we could all shout out a hippity hoppity happy birthday to Katie. So I might count 1, 2, 3, and then we'll all say, happy birthday, Katie. Can you do that with me? Okay, you ready? Oh, I've even got a, ooh. It's not very noisy, but it does the job. You ready? 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday, Katie! I hope she hears that. Oh, that made Billy jump up. She didn't know what that was. It was my streamer, Billy, and that's what we do on birthdays. But for my morning tea today, I've got something that we had for Katie's birthday. And it's a birthday treat, but not just any birthday treat. I thought, well, it's Katie's birthday. She might like a crown-themed morning tea, a crown-themed birthday treat. And so for my morning tea today, here's my donut crown. Now this is a sometimes treat because this has got lots of sweets on it. It's a donut. Oh, can you see? It might fall. I hope it doesn't fall. A donut. And I put little wafers around it to make the crown. And it's filled with some scrumdiddly-umptious lollies inside. What a special birthday treat. My crown donut treat for Katie's birthday. Crowns, crowns, crown morning tea, crowns on the teddies. My crown here and crowns in our Bible story each week. Lots of crowns. Can you remember why we have crowns each week this term? That's right, because we're learning about the story of the kings. Kings in the Bible. Lots and lots of kings. We've got, do you remember? Good kings and bad kings. Wise kings and foolish kings. But most importantly of all this term, we're going to be learning all about God's promised, perfect, forever King. That's right. So, do you remember what we learned about last week? Last week, we learned how God was going to choose a new king to replace Saul, because while Saul looked like a good king, because Saul was tall and handsome and strong, Saul was a bad king. Saul was disobedient and Saul did not trust God. So remember last week, God sent Samuel to choose a new king who did not look much like a king. He was young and small, but he loved and trusted God. And that was the most important thing of all. Do you remember this new king's name? It started with a D. David. That's right, I knew you'd remember. David. Now, David did not become king straight away. Saul was still the king, and Saul did not want David to become king. Saul wanted to stay the king. So I wonder what is going to happen in our story today. Now, to bring us our story today, we've got our wonderful Alex to join us. So, are you ready for our story? You're sitting comfortably, got your listening ears on, all ready? Yes? Good. So, let's hear from Alex now as she reads to us.
Hey guys, it's so good to see you all again. I hope you had a fantastic week. Today I'm going to be reading you a Bible story about a king who plays by God's rules. Here we go. David was to be God's new king. But there was one problem. Saul was still the king. Saul had failed to trust God. God was not with Saul anymore. David trusted God. God was with David. So when David fought the giant Goliath, God was with David. David won, and all the people loved him. When King Saul sent David out to fight their enemies, God was with David. David won again and again and again. All the people loved him even more. This made King Saul jealous. He got angrier and angrier and angrier. King Saul tried to hurt David, but God was with David, and David ran away. King Saul and his men chased David. They chased them up the hills and down the hills. They even chased him into caves. But God was with David. King Saul and his men could not catch David. One night, King Saul and his men were asleep. God was with David. David crept up to King Saul. He was asleep. Even though Saul was trying to hurt David, David would not hurt King Saul. Instead, David took King Saul's spear and water jug. The next morning, King Saul woke up. His spear and water jug were gone. King Saul heard David calling. David held up King Saul's spear and water jug. Saul knew David could have hurt him, but David had not. King Saul hung his head and went home. Not long after this, King Saul died. David was sad to hear that he had died. It was now time for David to become king. King Saul had failed to trust and obey God, but David was different. David did not hit back, even when Saul tried to hurt him. Jesus is God's King of Kings. He perfectly trusts and obeys God the Father. Jesus never hit back, even when people were trying to hurt him. Jesus is our perfect King. Back to you, Ron.
Thanks, Alex, for reading to us. And children, before I check in with how well you were listening, it's time for our memory verse. That's right, it's memory verse time. And this term, our memory verse is taken from the book of 1 Samuel chapter 16, verse 7. And it reminds us that the most important thing to God is not how we look on the outside, but our hearts. What's going on in our hearts, that's what matters to God. And so you're ready to do our memory verse together? I hope you've got plenty of room. You might want to stand up. Make sure you've got some space because we've got words and we've got actions. And we'll do it 2 times together. Let's do our memory verse. You ready? I'm ready. Hoping Ron gets it right. Okay then, kids, let's go. People look at the outward appearance, but God looks at the heart. Boom, boom. People look at the outward appearance, but God looks at the heart. Boom, boom. 1 Samuel 16:7. 1 Samuel 16:7. I think we better try it again. Let's go, kids. People look at the outward appearance, but God looks at the heart. Boom, boom. People look at the outward appearance, but God looks at the heart. Boom, boom. 1 Samuel 16:7. 1 Samuel 16:7. Give yourselves a clap, round of applause. So, children, it's time for us to check in with how well you listened in our story today. And to help us remember our story today, in your craft bags, you've got some pictures. So I want you just to pause, Bron, and they'll either be in your craft bag, or if I've sent the link to you, mums and dads, you might want to print these off. They're the pictures from our story today, and they'll help us as we think back on what we learned. So pause, Bron, go grab your pictures and come back. You ready? Pause. You're back? Good job. Okay, so you've got your pictures. So you might want to lay them out on the floor in front of you, or pop them on the table, just somewhere that's easy to see. And when we retell the story, you see if you can match the pictures to the questions I've got, and we'll see if we come up with the same picture. Okay, you ready? Okay. So our story today started with Saul, and Saul was angry. Angry face. Saul was angry. Saul was angry because David kept winning. David was winning things. Do you remember David won against a person? Who did David beat? David beat somebody. We learned about this last term. It was someone very big, someone very tall. It started with a g. You ready for the picture? It's Goliath. David beat Goliath. Did you get that picture? Good job. David beat Goliath because David trusted God. Now, the people liked David more than they liked Saul. They liked David. Now, King Saul did not like that. So what did King Saul try and do? What are some of the things King Saul did to David? Do you remember? King Saul was angry, and King Saul tried to... Can you find one of the pictures? Can you find a picture of something King Saul did to David? King Saul tried to hurt David. And not just that. Do you remember King Saul's army chased David? They chased him into a... Can you find a picture of something that they chased him into? Match, snap, into a cave. King Saul's army chased David into a cave. That must have been a bit scary for David, but David trusted in God. And children, one night while Saul was sleeping, David crept into King Saul's tent, creeping quietly. Now, David could have hurt King Saul, but did he hurt King Saul? No, he did not. What did David do? David took something from King Saul. Do you remember what it was? Got the picture of what David took? He took the jug and the sword. Now, David showed Saul how close he was to him. He crept right into Saul's tent. These things were right next to Saul's head. He could have hurt him, but he did not. And children, soon after, King Saul died and David was sad. So who was the next king? Who was going to be king? Can you find a picture of a crown? David was now the new king, King David. Now, children, Saul failed to trust God. He did not trust God. And God rejected him as king. God said, Saul, no, you will not stay king. But David was different. David trusted in God. He did not hit back even when Saul tried to hurt him. Now, children, most importantly, Jesus is God's King of Kings, the King of all the kings. He perfectly trusts God and he perfectly obeys God. And Jesus never hit back, even when people tried to hurt him. Jesus is our perfect King. I think that's a good time for us to pray about all of these wonderful truths. And to lead us in prayer today, we're going to head back to Alex. And after Alex prays for us and prays with us, she's going to show us our craft for today. So you ready? Let's head back to Alex.
Now it's time to pray, so I need all of you to take your hands and place them in your lap and close your eyes so that we don't get distracted. I'm going to say something and you can repeat it after me. Are you ready? Let's pray. Father God, David trusted you. He never hurt Saul, even though Saul hurt him. And even though people hurt Jesus, he never hurt them. Thank you that Jesus is our perfect King. Amen. Now, I have one more exciting surprise to show you this week. Can you guess what it is? It is our craft. Look at this. This week, we have a picture of King Saul and David hiding in the cave. Can you see his eyes? I've stuck these on, and they're giggly eyes so they can move around. I've also coloured in the grass. We've got some rocks. You can colour it in just like me if you'd like. And then once you've finished, you can stick it into your scrapbook for this week. I hope you have a great time with this craft and have a really good week. I'll see you all again really soon. Bye!
Thanks, Alex, and thank you, children, for listening so well to our lesson today. To finish our lesson, how do I like to finish? I like to finish with our special rhyme. Our special rhyme that reminds us how much God loves us and that all things are in His control and that He holds us dearly in His hands. So you ready to do our rhyme together? Okay, we need a bit of space again. Alrighty. God has always been here before the world began. He knew me then, He knows me now. He holds me in His hand. Shall we do it again? God has always been there before the world began. He knew me then, He knows me now. He holds me in His hand. Children, what a wonderful truth to remember. As you head off now to do your craft, have a wonderful rest of your day. And I can't wait to see you all back here for Kids Church at Home next week. Bye, kids.